We are in an emergency. No, not only since Corona, but already since last year when the canton declared the climate emergency. To get out of this one, we need to transition to a low-carbon society. This means that we need tons of wind and solar electricity. But times when the wind blows or the sun shines are not necessarily when we are using electricity. So we have to find a way to store some of it for when we actually need it. One option is to put up battery containers, like this one at EPFL. As you can see, they take up quite a bit of space and they are also pretty expensive. However, there is an alternative. A low-carbon society does not only need lots of renewable electricity, it also needs lots of electric cars. 10 electric cars store the same amount of energy as this battery container. But how can cars provide electricity storage when they are supposed to be driving you around? During rush hour, it might feel like everyone is driving at the same time. But actually, even during peak rush hour, fewer than 10% of all cars are out. So more than 90% of them are parked at any one time. If many of those parked cars are electric, that's a vast amount of unused storage capacity. Putting some of that capacity to work for the electricity grid would avoid having to pay for batteries twice, once for the grid and once for the cars. To make this work, we need special charging stations that allow the cars to discharge power back into the grid. This idea is called vehicle-to-grid. In my PhD, I figure out how to charge and discharge the batteries of each car to provide both electricity storage and transportation. Of course, I don't know in advance how people will use their cars or how much electricity the grid will need. To provide a reliable service, my charging plan needs to work for all reasonable scenarios. As you can imagine, there are many possibilities, which makes for a difficult mathematical problem. I won't walk you through all the math, but I do want you to know about duality theory. This theory says that many mathematical problems have a twin. Twin problems have the same solution, but one may be easier to solve than the other. Finding the optimal charging plan directly is tough, but finding and solving the twin problem is actually doable. My charging plan says how to use electric cars as batteries for the electricity grid. This means you can speed up the transition to a low-carbon society by making your car battery available to the grid and getting paid for it. Thank you.